my house is about more than 2 miles outside of town, so I don't get a very good connection all the time. So I hope you can hear me okay. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, good. All right. Yeah, so let's see. We're losing people every week. What's going on? You have to call your friends and tell them, hey, come on, get with it. So we're already starting out a little late. I don't know if much will be gained by waiting more. So let's get into it. I've been trying to show the carrot, both the carrot and the stick, as far as the need and desirability to get going with the gift economy and get this concept established. The stick, of course, is the World Health Organization, who yesterday, or the last couple of days, it seems, commandeered control over the entire planet, if I understand that whole thing correctly. The criminal in charge of that can just declare a pandemic and take control of any country in the world. So we can expect a lot of interesting things to come from that, unfortunately. You know, the other side of the stick is it's a war against the people. And the demons, you know, let me just be straightforward, the people that control the world are demonic. They have every intention of controlling everyone and everything, and to circumvent that, we need the help of God. And we all need to be praying and chanting Hare Krishna mantra. So as far as the carrot goes, then, trying to also show the benefits that can be had by following a gift economy. The demonic controllers, they use money as a method of controlling the people and manipulating them, and we'll see that going on with the they're destroying the economies to create a basic income, universal basic income, which you'll get on your credit card if you've taken the jab and done all the good little things that they want us to do. So yeah, it's a serious situation, and we need to let's say it's not time for business as usual. So I've been giving homework assignments. I don't know how many of you have been keeping up with that, but the last one I asked you to watch was the video Learning from Ladakh. A very important little video. Actually, we're going to go over in some detail today. And then, but before we get there, I want to speak a little bit again about language and worldviews. Language, of course, the Sanskrit language, having words with associated meanings and concepts that our Western languages, particularly English, does not have, gives us an opportunity to see and understand this world in a very, very different way. And one of those concepts you've heard me mention in passing, or maybe I'm trying to explain it a little bit, are the gunas, or the modes, qualities of material nature, and the effect that they have on consciousness. And that's very, very important, because while we may, you know, the few of us, we may say, oh yes, this gift economy is a wonderful idea, let's do it. It's really not going to work unless there's a number of people who participate. Very difficult to do by yourself. Not impossible, but more challenging, sure. So we what I want to get across this concept of the gunas, particularly Rajagun and Sattva-guna today, by going through the video of learning from Ladakh. Now, if you've already viewed it, good, thank you. And seeing it a second time is not going to hurt, because I'll stop the video periodically and use this as a very good example of how the modes of material nature affect human beings in their activities. And this, in the video learning from Ladakh, it begins with the indigenous culture of Ladakh, which is basically a culture in sattva-guna. Sattva has particular qualities that, let's say, by its very nature, people in sattva are satisfied and happy. Two very important characteristics. Our modern society is Rajagun, and the primary qualities of Rajagun is, or let's say, are dissatisfaction, right? And discontent. I've never got enough. And dissatisfaction, I want more all the time. And the unfortunate aspect of Rajagun is that we think that by getting more, we will sometime find the happiness and the satisfaction that we seek. But the fact of the matter is, it's elusive, and it will never come to us in that fashion. In my spiritual economics book, I point out that there is no solution to the economic problems for people practicing their economy in Rajagun. That is to say, there is no economic solution for everyone. Certainly, in the modern times, we practice an economy of Rajagun, and many people have plenty. They have more than what they need, but there are a great many who do not have what they need. And why? Because those who have too much are taking it from those who don't have enough. There's no solution to the economic problem in that way. So if we want a just world, if we want a world that works for everyone, if we want a world where there's peace and satisfaction and happiness, we must understand that we have to remove ourselves, or let's say free ourselves from the impulse of Rajagun and become situated in Sattva-guna. Now, this is challenging because according to the gunas, there are different kinds of happiness also. The happiness of Rajagun, or let's say the nature of the happiness of Rajagun, is that in the beginning, it's wonderful. You think, oh, this is great. I love it. But in the end, it's terrible. The quality of the happiness of Sattva-guna is, in the beginning, it's not very nice. And so you think, oh, I don't want to do this. But in the end, if you persevere, it's very pleasant, very pleasing. Now, a very good example of this, if any of you have practiced Hatha Yoga, you know that when you first begin to do some stretches, it's painful, right? Ouch, I don't want to do that. But if you stick with it and you continue to do your stretches, you do your asanas, in the end, that pain that was so unpleasant in the beginning, as you become experienced with it, you actually look for that pain, because your experience is that by finding that pain and working through it, that pain is released. And then the result of that is a sensation of genuine satisfaction. This is why Hatha Yoga has become so popular all over the world now. Most people really don't understand it, but what it does is give the practitioners the experience of sattva. They don't go there with that understanding. It's probably never even explained to them, but they're experiencing happiness of sattva-guna. The happiness of Rajagun, by contrast, is going shopping. You go to the mall, right? You go out and you buy some things that you don't need. Why? Because it looks good. Oh, it'll look so nice on me. I want to have that thing. And but it's very short-lived, right? For example, all those things that we thought we had to have last year, where are they now? Out in the garage someplace? You got them up in the attic? You never look at them now? Maybe you've given it away already, because that thing that we thought was going to give us happiness, it doesn't continue to give us happiness. It loses that influence or that effect, with the result that we need more. So, in the video, Learning from Ladakh, what we're going to see is Ladakh established in its indigenous culture in sattva-guna. How the people were satisfied, how the people were happy, how they didn't have opulence, but they were satisfied with what they had, and they had time for each other, and they had bonds of love. Then we're going to see Rajagun enter the picture with new roads, goods coming from India, and Rajagun bringing with it all of the things, right, the material things that people might want to have. But we'll see how it actually destroys sattva-guna. It destroys their culture, and how eventually everybody becomes dissatisfied and unhappy. Now, our challenge is to put that into reverse. We're already in Rajagun. How can we deliberately, consciously put that into reverse to where we reject Rajagun and adopt sattva-guna, not only in our economic practices, but by making our economics of sattva-guna, the other qualities of sattva-guna will follow. Economics plays such a significant role in our lives, and we don't really pay much attention to it, other than, do I have enough money in my checkbook? If we do, we don't think about it because it's serving us. If we don't, that's perhaps all that we think about, because it's a struggle to survive. So the whole point of this course is to understand that there is a solution to the economic problem by which everybody can be cared for, everybody will have what they need, and we'll all be happy and satisfied. Okay, so with that said, let's see. I did a practice with this and it didn't work out very well. I'm share sound. Okay. Now, can you hear the sound of the video? Yeah? Okay. It's all right?
Deep in the Himalayas, on the western edge of the Tibetan plateau, lies Ladakh, one of the highest and driest inhabited regions on Earth. Scorched by the sun in summer, frozen solid for 8 months of winter, this is a place that might seem incapable of sustaining human life. Yet over the centuries, fields have been carved out of the rocks and sand of the desert, enabling the people not only to survive, but to prosper. But the face of Ladakh is changing.
Agriculture is dying. Most people are coming out of agriculture.
The modernization of Ladakh calls into question a number of widely held assumptions about industrial society. In fact, it challenges us to reassess the whole notion of progress.
Going back and forth and
Helena Norber-Hodge has spent much of the last 18 years in Ladakh.
I know it might sound far-fetched, but I'm convinced that looking at Ladakh can actually help us to better understand what's going on in the West. When I first went to Ladakh, there was no pollution, no crime, and people had lived peacefully side by side for centuries. And there was an incredible joy to life. But now, in recent years, I've seen the impact of the modern Western world on the traditional culture. And this ability to contrast the old with the new clarifies a lot of things. It helps to explain the reasons behind many of the problems that we face in the West, the reasons behind environmental breakdown and the breakdown of communities, and more importantly, it helps to show how we might get out of this mess that we've created.
An independent kingdom until the mid-1800s, Ladakh is today part of the Indian state of Jammu and Kashmir. Its cultural heritage is Tibetan, so much so in fact that it is still widely known as Little Tibet. While parts of Ladakh are largely Muslim, the predominant religion of Central, or Old Ladakh, is Tibetan Buddhism. In area, Ladakh is almost the same size as England, but supports a population of only 130,000, the vast majority of whom live as farmers in small villages. Since there are less than 4 inches of rainfall a year, the Ladakhis have to rely instead on glacial meltwater, which is brought to the fields through an elaborate system of channels, often many miles long. Cultural traditions have limited population growth and helped to ensure that the natural carrying capacity of the land is not exceeded. More than 90% of Ladakhi families own their own land, an average of 3 or 4 acres, and a number of animals. Land holdings are neither sold nor divided, but passed on intact from one generation to the next.
Ati meme sao chamo changma nyambo duksong nang tukje. Dideno sao chama tino dideno. Nama busa sa las kusong le zinkang de la.
Chang de masiga de nar duksi zangju chikina zente la changma chikis kos kam changma masiga kwen dukan inju yamana.
Villages lie between 10 and 14,000 feet. At this altitude, the growing season is extremely short. Nonetheless, local varieties of wheat and barley produce plentiful yields year after year. Each family also keeps a small vegetable garden, and at lower elevations there are orchards of apple and apricot trees. With few exceptions, basic needs are met within the community. Houses are made from the resources of the immediate environment. Stone for the foundations and ground floor, and sun-dried bricks made of mud and straw. Dwellings are large and graceful, yet there's no need for architects. Everyone in Ladakh knows how to build a house. Self-reliance is based on skills which are finely tuned to the local environment. During the summer, villagers spend time at the high pastures watching over their animals. At 16,000 feet, conditions are harsh, but these local breeds of sheep and goats are well adapted to the environment. Vegetation here is scarce, so the herds are moved each day to prevent overgrazing. This is an almost timeless life. Work and leisure are one. Over the generations, the Ladakhis have learned to make the most of the resources around them. Almost everything that grows wild is gathered and put to use for fodder, food or medicine, fence making or basket weaving.
People, they don't waste anything in Ladakh. Whatever it may be wood, it may be even stones, it may be grass, it may be water, it may be anything. You see, they don't waste it. They take care of it. You see, in that way, we could really see, you see, that Ladakh is actually very economist. They're the real economists, you see. Not the modern economics, as you see, increasing production, go on producing things, destroying all the natural resources. Not like that. It's taking care of the natural resources and how to develop it.
Everyday life in the village is based on a close relationship between people and the earth. This living experience of interconnectedness is reinforced by the teachings of Buddhism. The religion permeates all aspects of life. Almost every village has its own monastery. Most households have a family member at the monastery, and there is constant interaction between villagers and monks. Within each house, there is a private chapel. The landscape is dotted with stupas or chortens. These monuments represent the essence of Buddhist philosophy, the interdependence of everything in the universe. At the top of the stupa, a crescent moon cradles the sun, symbolizing the oneness of all life. Even the sun and moon, which seem so far apart, are inextricably interrelated. Tashi Rabkyes is a poet, philosopher, and Ladakh's leading Buddhist scholar.
Interdependence is very important, you see, in the Buddhist philosophy, because you see, it says that everything depends on every other things. You see, even things come into being through dependence and through relationship. See, the animals depending on plants, and plants in turn depending on soil, water, air, the basic elements. And human beings depending on animals and plants and other things. So all are interrelated and interconnected.
Agricultural work is founded in cooperation. Labor, animal power, and farm implements are routinely shared.
In that way, the farming is done, and it is done in a very cooperative basis. They will go to the neighboring families to say that some people should come to help us. So they will come to see, and in return, this family who does the job has also some of the members of that family have to take part in. In the case of another family. No money is paid, no cash or nothing. Only now food is served.
The small scale of the economy helps to strengthen community ties. People have the security of knowing that they can depend on one another. The spirit of mutual support is especially evident in the distribution of water. Over the centuries, a system of sharing has been developed, which determines when each household can divert the main channel to its fields. The animals of the entire village are tended by just a few villagers at a time, sharing the work on a rotational basis. Ladakhi families support each other in a more formalized way as well, through an institution called the Paspun. Each family belongs to a group of households that help each other at the time of birth, marriage and death. Occasions like these bring together large numbers of villagers, and they all have to be provided for. When someone dies, the Paspun takes care of all the necessary arrangements, from washing and wrapping the body to the performance of rituals in the home. Their work helps to lighten the burden on the family and to give people a sense of belonging to something larger than themselves. Even at the time of greatest sorrow, the individual is never alone.
Death is very quite natural. When there is birth, there is death. In Ladakh, the people who follow Buddhism, they accept that when someone dies, someone again takes a rebirth.
While most work within the village is undertaken at family level, some larger projects, like the rebuilding of irrigation canals or major pathways, involve the community as a whole. In communities of this scale, people know that helping others is in their own interest. Village-level decisions are taken by a council made up of representatives of chutso, or groupings of 10 or so households. Although most of the formal decisions are taken by men, women in Ladakh enjoy a remarkably high position. Almost all the important decisions affecting people's lives are taken at the household level, where women are at the center. Harvesting involves the whole family. Neighbors and friends also join in as part of a time-tested system of reciprocity. In fact, harvests are often staggered so that several families, even from different villages, can work together.
Even the small children, they also go to the field, and old people. Now old people, and they will give good advice, you see. They will supervise, you see, how it is going on, and like that, you see.
This is the most critical time of the year, since the crops have to be gathered in quickly before the first snows. Even so, the work goes on at a relaxed pace. Agriculture in Ladakh is based on human and animal power and handmade tools. The most advanced technology is the rantak, a simple water-powered mill for grinding grain. Yet in the 4 months between the spring and autumn frosts, the Ladakhis managed to produce more than enough food for the entire year. In most years, there's even a sizable surplus of grain that can be traded for salt or tea or even jewellery. And there's enough barley to make into gallons of chang, the local beer. Long breaks are part of a typical day in the summer working season. With the harvest over, hardly a week goes by without a party. Singing, dancing and music that involve the whole community. Weddings last many days, even weeks. Even religious events take on a festive air, particularly the annual Cham dances, which are held at the bigger monasteries. The dancers are all monks. The dances they perform are dramatic enactments of Buddhist philosophy. Life in Ladakh is clearly more than mere subsistence. This is in fact a rich culture, one in which people are able to meet not only their material needs, but more importantly, their need to belong, both to their place on the earth and to the community of which they are a part.
It's important not to idealize traditional cultures. In Ladakh, for instance, there was high infant mortality and it was very cold in the winter, and people certainly weren't as comfortable as we are in the West today. But if you look at what's important, then the traditional culture really worked. It was sustainable. people had managed to live in this difficult environment for centuries, and people were really happy.
So what we saw there was a very good example of a culture of sattva. There's no government, depending on government, no hierarchical control, no taxes to pay. People were taking care of each other, depending on the earth, on the animals, on God. And the result was what she say, right in the beginning and in the end, the people are happy. The people are happy. Now, how many people do you think this kind of lifestyle is going to appeal to? Not very many, right? If they want to go from their modern suburbs to, even if it's not in Ladakh, even in beautiful valleys like you might have in New Zealand, or a beautiful place of subsistence lifestyle, it's not very attractive. Why? Because it's happiness in sattva. Modern society is happiness in rajas. And what's the result of that? Everybody suffers. Suicide, pills, intoxication, dissatisfaction. So this is the big challenge. How do we have people to recognize that our real self-interest lies in living in a lifestyle of sattva? So I've been after this for about 40 years, even with members of our Hare Krishna community. And most of them, they have no appreciation of this philosophy, which comes directly from our scripture, Bhagavad Gita. What I see coming is that we're going to be forced into a situation where all of the things that we've depended upon in the past, our money, our resources, whatever they are, perhaps family, our position in society, our jobs, all of these things are going to fail because Klaus Schwab and his demonic leaders, they're going to change everything. And then what are we going to do? Either we can come together and help each other, forget buying and selling, just, to survive, take care of each other, or we're going to have to bow down to the World Economic Forum. I don't see any other way around it, because they're putting us in that circumstance that's going to force us. So what I wanted to show here, if you haven't seen the video, watch the rest of it. It's all about how modern society enters into the Ladakh. A lot of goods come, but all the relationships begin to fail, and the former way of life is destroyed by money, specifically by money. Because then people are feeling poor all of a sudden, or they go to work, they got money, they're not there to help their family members to plow the field, to harvest the crops, to take care of the water. Everything is destroyed by money. In my opinion, this is done deliberately because it's not only Ladakh, but every indigenous culture around the world there's been a systematic attempt to destroy them. Maybe I told you this statistic before. I used to read a magazine called Cultural Survival Quarterly, and they reported on the efforts of indigenous people to maintain their way of life. And I remember clearly in 1988 that it was 88% of the violent conflicts in the world were due to indigenous peoples attempting to maintain their way of life without interference by the dominant culture. So the demons, they want to exploit everyone and control everyone. So we're coming to a situation where my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he explained that we can expect there will be a war. And in this war, some demons that want to control everything will fight with other demons that want to control everything. So we can see that brewing now between Russia, China, and United States. The whole war in Ukraine is not about Ukraine at all. It's about, it's a proxy war to try to prevent Russia from exiting the world economic system. And so if you know the history of Libya, there's another example of that, where Gaddafi was trying to do the same thing and they destroyed him. So we'll see what happens between Russia and the United States. Now there's very real talk about nuclear war. So what's going to happen after that? Are we going to continue on the same way? We'll just make some more money and call it differently? Why? I'm trying to suggest that we need to think about how we are living and to understand that there's another way to live. And we should think about this deeply and have examples to realize what the benefit is of living in sattva, particularly if, as the astrologers are saying, we are moving into a golden age, a spiritual age. Why not have a spiritual economy? Which means a gift economy with God at the center. Okay, so I'll stop there, and maybe there's some comments, questions, discussion. Do you know how to raise your hand? Somebody asked me the question about how to raise your hand. You go down to the bottom of the screen. There's it says reactions. You click on that, and then you'll see the place where you click to raise your hand.
There are some questions in the chat box from Mario.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look there. Okay. First one, wondering about the connection between Raja and desire to control, Icha, willpower, happiness of Rajagun to get what you want, perhaps. Sattva as accepting dharma or intrinsic nature of everything, sattva. And tamas as confused and unconscious living. Okay, let me see if I understand the question right. I'm going to try to rephrase this. These gunas are not completely pure. The good example of them are three primary colors, red, yellow, and blue. You mix them together in infinite combinations and create an infinite variety of colors. So there's no pure sattva, rajas, or tamas. Everything is influenced to some degree by the other gunas. So as we explained, I think it was last week, we practice sattvic economy with our birth family or with our family with our children. We then go to the work economy and Vrajagun, and maybe we are a landlord and we try to suck as much rent out of our tenants as possible by practicing the economics of tamagun, for example. So desire to control, this is a quality of tamagun. Rajagun simply means exchange. Sattva-guna means giving, Rajagun exchange, Tamagun means taking. So I can take by controlling somebody, or I'm happy to exchange. In Rajas, I want to be the best and I want to prove to you that I'm better than you. That's Rajas. In Sattva, I'm not interested in proving I'm better than you. I accept that we are all equal. And in Tamagun, I don't care about you and I'll take whatever you have. So how does Dharma fit in? Well, for those in Tamagun, they don't even think about Dharma. For those in Rajagun, they will practice Dharma to the extent, let's say, for the purpose of getting artha, economic development. And so in the Vedic system, there is also a concept of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You follow Dharma so that you can get economic development, then you enjoy, and at the end of life, you try to achieve liberation. So Dharma can be used for economic gain, or Dharma can be specifically devoted toward liberation. So Mario, how's that for answering that question? You there? Does that answer your question?
Yes. I have a slightly different perspective in a way, okay? That is that I agree with you that they are mixed, definitely. But in a way, for example, maybe it's not different, but I would like to bring the example. Yeah, if for example, Tamas might think of Dharma, but they might be confused about it. Yes, Sattvic people may do exchanges because they feel that this is the best for the harmony of the flow of goodness. Yes, but I do understand you are trying to you are giving examples to make us point at a vast spectrum of elements, right? So
correct.
In that,
and then first you begin with the main principles, and then you can get into unlimited subtleties.
Yes, and in regards to what you said before, that is, I think, more practical. I put another question in the chat. That is in regards to self-sufficiency, and there is no need for money to live in a very wholesome eco region or community, yeah, wherein everybody has access to everything that renders life complete according to one's nature. And yet at the same time, because that would generate so much abundance, a surplus could be then placed into trade, yes, and generate as well the economic activity as spoken, traditionally inside economy scholars, people, they see economic activity, the buying and selling of goods and services, as the main propelling fuel of the whole economy, right? And at the same time, we recognize that cannot be at the expense of the very humanity and nature, yeah, and destroying the great gifts that is human life. It can bring incredible paradise on earth. So yeah, that is my question, whether it could be done in this way, where self-sufficiency is there and there is no need for money within the ecosystem of those who have joined together to make the world a better place, and thus can afford to allow everyone in that network, in that ecosystem, to live a complete life, and because of its incredible surplus, can also put that into trade and generate the economic activity. Yeah, how would you see that?
Okay, that's good. Now, there's another aspect of this that I've avoided till now, which is the idea that our economic activity is inextricably intertwined with our consciousness. That is, how we do our activity is a reflection of our consciousness, and it will also affect our consciousness. Now, if we understand and accept that human life has a goal of achieving liberation from this world, then we understand the principle of karma, that my desire to acquire more will force me to take birth again. Then recognizing that that's counteractive to my spiritual goal. I can achieve the possibility of leaving this world forever, achieving the spiritual world, a land of bliss in eternality, and never come back. Otherwise, we go around and around and around in this material world, life after life. And after this life, we're not certain what kind of body we're going to get in the next one. Karma is extremely complex, and we're carrying around a bag of karma of unfulfilled desires that we've developed over many, many lifetimes that are just waiting to fructify like seeds. And when we have an appropriate birth, that karma will be given to us. So that's another important, very important aspect of economic activity, which I want to get into in another class. So let me leave that at that for right now, okay? But I appreciate your comments, and yeah, you're correct. It's going to take a lot of discussion and learning and personal growth to be able to come to the point where we can actually practice this. Like I said, most people right out the gate without much discussion, they don't want to do this. They think this is crazy. This is going backwards. So there has to be a lot of learning and a lot of personal growth to take place in order to be able to accept that. Okay, I'll leave that. Let's go on to Vanessa's comment. Is that okay, Mario? Okay for now?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much. Very clarifying. Yes.
Okay. So Vanessa, I'd say this is only possible while the existing economy maintains, but ideally the primary goal to be self-sufficient and simply live off the land, and any surplus produced can be given and distributed to others, who are in turn also giving and distributing to others. Vanessa, you want to explain? Or was that Vanessa or Booty? Who was that?
That was me. No, I was just answering Mario's question above, because he was talking about the self-sufficient model and how the surplus can be used in trading. And I was thinking, in a gift economy, the surplus, you're not so much interested in trading as such, but you have everything you need, so you're not particularly needing anything else.
Well, maybe.
Yeah, it's mostly about
things like salt. Go ahead, Mario.
I was talking more about meeting the market needs. For example, if we have in that self-sufficient place, everyone has access to wholesome life, say health services, right? In so many ways. Yet there will be other people who come from the city. They are, business people, whatever. They have the money. They want to have that access to that service. Yeah, they could therefore also. Of course, I also think that they could invest in having access to that through many other ways, also like contributing to the project in one or another way, etc. But they can do it with money as well. as well, if we're talking about the surplus of food, for example, yeah, grains, vegetables, etc., that can, if it's much more than the ecosystem needs and the network, for example, then that could be traded in the market, thus also proving the economic aspect from the capitalistic perspective as well.
Okay.
I don't know if as a transitional, at least, process.
I have some very strong opinions about money. That money is very dangerous. It's like fire. You have to respect it, keep it in its place, otherwise it can destroy you. But we won't go into that now.
I agree with it also, but it's about re-evaluating value, perhaps, no?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, it's you know, it's an extensive conversation, and it'd be wonderful to have it. Let's see if we can get there in one of our classes. Okay, Shirley or Shirley's husband. I forget your name. Sorry. You're muted. Shirley, you have to unmute.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah. I sent you an email about the problem of hoarding, if you are able to address that. I've also got a question about, we're living in a free market economy, and we have got, David and I are retired, but we have got 17 grandchildren. And it has been, over the years, we have taught our children entrepreneurial skills. And some of them have done very well at it, their own little mini businesses. And I'm now thinking, do we have to rethink that whole idea? Are we in actual fact setting them up for what is it, for Rojagoon by
Can I give you a short answer to that?
If there is one.
And the short answer is that depends on what's going to go on in the dominant culture with the World Economic Forum and the governments. Yes. What are they going to do? My impression is it's not going to continue to be business as usual.
No.
Okay, then all the rules are getting changed. They've got their idea of what the rules should be, but do we want to live by those rules, or do we want to make our own rules? So that's why I'm giving the course, so that we can think about and prepare for some alternative. If things go on the way they have been, if we go back to the old normal, okay, most people don't have a problem with that, and we can somehow or other manage and survive. But from what they've all said, that's not going to happen. Okay, sorry. Continue, please.
All right. I remember a saying that I heard many years ago: I owe, so off to work I go. And the idea is to keep us in debt so that we have to keep going to work, so we have to keep paying taxes, so we're on a sort of a treadmill. And yep. Once you're in the system, you've got your 8 to 5, and it's quite difficult to get out of it, except for the times when you have legislated holidays. Another comment that I have: the love of money is the root of many kinds of evil. So I think we've got to try and keep money as a servant in its place, but not let it become so we have a lust for it and for more and more. Another, godliness with contentment is great gain. And I think that in contentment in life is very important. If you get too much lust for the money, you lose your contentment, and you have a lot of stress, and you've already mentioned a lot of other things that the love of money can produce detrimental to us. With that clip that you gave, of the people in the Himalayas, I noticed they have scissors, spades, alloy pots. I wonder, do they have a smithy, or do they trade their grain and other things with people who would come up with donkeys or camels or something from India to get these smaller but vital necessities to help them function? Those big residences must have had timber beams or something in them. So I don't know if they had their own sawmill or if they imported beams of timber or what sort of raised it up, or if they structure the rocks in such a way that it can sort a big span of roof. I don't know what they do with spectacles, but I would have difficulty seeing you without my spectacles. So I have to go to Specsavers. With regards to the future, for me, I understand it's absent from the body, present with the Lord, which is far better for me. And I understand that we'll have glorified bodies like the Lord Jesus Christ's resurrected body. So I don't anticipate coming back here to have further training for future lives. And if I've been bad, maybe I come back as a dog. I understand you some. If I'm good, I might come back as an elephant. But for me, it's absent from the body, present with the Lord. New Zealand, I understand, I don't know if this has been covered before, is a corporation registered on the American stock market. And our sovereignty under William IV's flag has never been refuted. They took down a pseudo flag when they put up the New Zealand flag. They didn't take down the King's flag, so they took down one that looked like it. The original had 8 pointed stars. This one had 6. The red cross had a black border on the white background. And I understand it had the appearance of the original, but was a fake one. And that is what they've done. And they've taken over our rights as New Zealand citizens. And I don't know how it's going to turn out in the future with our present government, because I don't think national, I think national will be worse than Labour if they get in. So it's quite an interesting situation. I'm not sure in the future what's going to happen to our pensions, whether there'll be Bitcoin or what the financial situation's going to be. I don't know how we're going to pay our rates in the future. So just a few comments there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, all the points you raise, you know, they come up in everybody's mind.
Yeah.
You know, we could have unlimited conversations about this because we all come from a different background, different perspective, different beliefs.
Yeah.
And, you know, the question is, okay, well, you know, theory is one thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, we have to live in this world. We have to take care of the body. And how are we going to do that? And that's the real question. That's where the, as we say here in the States, where the rubber meets the road. I don't know if you have that expression.
Yeah.
So it's a very applicable one. You know, that's where things get real meaningful. So how are we going to do that? And, you know, we have some examples of that. For example, we had one big hurricane in New Orleans, I forget how long ago. And, you know, what we saw there is that instead of people going around and looting and trying to take advantage of each other, we saw people trying to help each other.
Yep.
I was in San Francisco for the earthquake in Loma Prieta earthquake in 1989. And it was the same thing. Everybody was going out of their way to try to help everybody else. So I think we'll see a lot of that. This is normal human behavior. You know, we have compassion and empathy for others. We naturally want to care for others when we see them in distress. So I'm trying to raise, trying to I guess give us present all this so that we can think about it in advance of the disasters.
Yep.
So that we're all prepared in however way we are going to do it based on what we've acquired from this, so that we're prepared to act differently instead of acting the same old way according to how we're conditioned. So, thank you.
I remember seeing a road accident, and the first aid people were trying to fix the guy up, and there was another guy whose car had got damaged who was trying to kick him while he was semi-conscious. So I think that in society, it's a span of groups. Some people are looking after themselves, some are looking after others, and some are trying to plunder others. And so
that's Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. All three are there.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good example. Okay. Somebody else. What else we have? Krishna Kumari, are you the Krishna Kumari in New York State? You're muted.
This is an amazing seminar. I'm super inspired by the depth, and that it's not like you're trying to recreate the wheel, but you're actually learning from those who are already doing this. I just really admire all the depth of what you're researching and bringing forward to us, because it's a lot of time you're putting in here. So I thank you with all my heart. Here we're having quite an amazing experience of the gift economy. I went door to door in my neighborhood and begged for land. And a 92-year-old man agreed that we would put some, not garden like community garden where everybody has their own plot, but we have planted 1,000 potatoes, 1,000 black beans, and we're in the process of planting winter squash for food sustainability for the whole community. And just
are you the
last night,
leader on that? Are you the spark plug on that?
Hey, I'm inspired by Prabhupada, and I don't see the limit. I think that everyone's part and parcel of Krishna, whatever they call Krishna. And, you know, putting up this electric fence last night was a liberal, a Democrat, and a Republican. And it's just really been amazing. Everybody wants to feel needed. And when you do this kind of work together, just like those Lakota people, we have so much fun. I bring dinner every Wednesday. It's not work. It's healing of trauma, and it's time together. And yeah, some people are just eating and hanging out. Some people are working. Children have come. You know, elders have come.
Make the videos for us and put it on our Telegram channel.
I will. I don't have your Telegram. I see what you post on Prabhupada Remedies or something, but I don't know yours. So I'll communicate.
Okay, well, I'll put it in. I'll put a link in the follow-up email.
Great.
Okay. So when I'm putting the link for this lecture, I'll also put a link for the Telegram channel.
Great. I'm also speaking at different towns, and we're calling it Neighbor to Neighbor. And there could be different ad hocs besides obviously gardens and food, but education and self-care, things of those nature, like a tool trade. Yeah, knowing your neighbors and knowing who's elderly and needs help. And we put up a board at the post office. It wasn't me. I I just hosted an event and people came forward and had ideas, and they put a board for needs and offerings for free. So, you know, there's a lot that can happen.
Great.
It's unlimited.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Helen, what do you have? Anything? Anybody? Nikki, Judith, Linda, Janet, Ian, say hi. Talk to us.
Okay. It's not going up. We've lost our reaction. Yeah, a bit.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Shirley.
Dan, you said just before we watched the Ladakh video, you said, how do I reverse the situation? That is from being in Rajagoon to Supergoon. How do we actually reverse that situation? Then we went on to watch the video, but I don't feel we've actually answered that question. A lot of the issues that I've raised are actually part and parcel, like hoarding and pocket money for children and training them, are all under Rajagoon. How do we?
Yeah, you know, the problem is, you know, we're totally ensconced in the dominant culture, okay? And like, for example, in our Hare Krishna movement, when I joined in early 70s, we practiced the gift economy in our group, okay? It was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. Of course, we were all single, young adults. There was no children. It was very easy, you know, but life gets complicated when there's marriage and children, naturally so. So things have to be done a little differently. You know, I think what Krishna Kumari shared with us, you know, they're taking those steps to bring people together, to encourage the sharing and giving like that. Shirley, I don't know, did you see the video? I posted a little video on the Telegram channel called The Really, Really Free Market.
Yes.
Yeah, did you watch that?
Yes, I've watched all of them.
Okay, so there's your answer to your hoarding. Right? You set up a really, really free market and invite people to come and get what they want. Particularly if you got 17 grandchildren, they need a lot. Give it all to them.
Could I make a comment about capitalism? We have a family down in Tauranga, and there was an elderly gentleman who wanted to sell his family home to go into a smaller home. And he didn't want to sell it for market value. He wanted to sell it to them. It was still quite a high price for them, but he wanted to sell it to them at a lower price. The agent cooperated with the elderly gentleman and sold it to the family at a lower price. When his workmates in the house sales business heard what he'd done, they were very angry with him. You should have sold it to them at market value. And so he was reprimanded. And the silly thing is, the banks keep giving the money at inflated prices. The estate agents get commission on the highest price that they can sell it for. There's rarity of homes, so there's a lot of competition to purchase a home. And so it's gone really stupid here in New Zealand with the overinflated prices. We understand that the banks a bank would give out about 7 loans a week, 1 a day. The government instructed them to bring it down to 1. So now people can't get the money to buy the homes, and I understand the market price already has come down about 10% because people haven't now got the money to be able to buy the homes.
It's all manipulated, and it's been manipulated from the beginning.
Yep.
You know, this is one of the points I've tried to make with, you know, some of our discussion about money and some of those videos that I've asked you to watch. Yeah, the whole thing is set up to manipulate and control people and to extract the wealth of people.
Yeah.
So again, the people at the top, whether it be in finance, in government, or business, they're demonic. These are demonic qualities. And, you know, again, you know, we according to our astrologers, we're coming to an end of that type of civilization, if you can call it that. And we need to set ourselves up for a different way of living. So I also just posted a little video on the Telegram channel about Mali, the gift economy of Mali, which is a really cute little 5-minute video. So please make sure you watch that. It's really beautiful and very inspiring.
Confirming what you said about the money situation, I worked as ship's engineer on the Spirit of New Zealand for many years, and there was a girl who was cook on there. She had worked in banking, but she had chosen to get out of it because of the immorality of it. They were encouraged to give people credit on their MasterCard, which would be way above what they could ever pay back again. And she said, I can't do that. That would destroy their home and their family. And they says, well, if you don't, somebody else will. She says, well, I'm not going to do it. And so she lost her banking career because she would not cooperate with the bank, but somebody else will be doing it now. So I don't know if she should have stayed in it and warned the people, but then the people above would see what she had done and she'd still get into trouble.
So this is called the race to the bottom. And somebody else is going to do it. So let's us do it first and we'll take advantage of them. Right. And you know, it's everything upside down. All the values are upside down.
Yep.
So again, this is why we have to rethink what we're doing, not participate in that, and let's understand that there's another way to live.
Yeah.
Okay? And we're the people that have to create it. We are. We have to, you know, you're all here, you're hearing this, you're understanding this. You're the agent, you're the person who's given the assignment to make this world a better and more wonderful place to live.
Mm.
So
Very
take
good.
the challenge. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll leave it at that. So happy to have your association, and I'll get out this video within 24 hours, and I've got another couple little homework assignments. I hope you do those. If you haven't watched those videos in the past, go back and do that, because I'm trying to, you know, it all builds together. It adds up and creates, let's say, completes the picture. So thanks again. Okay, God bless. Hare Krishna.